Hi, this is Zach with the American Coral Company. I've been selling corals for a little over 7 years now, and I've always wanted to help people be more successful with the corals that they buy from me. This led me to start a YouTube channel to help continue to educate more on reef keeping. I've compiled a collection of practices and habits through my own experiences, my successes, and my failures in reefing that I like to call the American Coral Method. Hopefully, by following these practices and habits, you can help avoid some of the failures and experience a lot of the successes that I've had in reef keeping. I want people to be successful with the corals that I sell them, and I'm going to tell you how. I've heard that in reef keeping, all we do is take care of water, and that's very true. We do that through filtration. There are three main types of filtration that we'll cover generally in this video and much more in depth in future videos. There's biological filtration, there's mechanical filtration, and then there's chemical filtration. Biological filtration is one of the most important parts of the American Coral Method. It's so important to have a very diverse ecosystem in your tank, closely replicating what you would find in nature. From all the way at the bottom to bacteria, other microorganisms, to pods, all of the creepy crawlies that you see come out at night, worms, cleanup crew, all the way up to your corals and your fish. Everything is playing a role, and it's working 24 hours a day to keep the biological engine of your tank running. And it really is the engine of your reef. It continues to keep things running at safe levels and keeps things in check so that we can have a lot more success in reefing. Fostering this biological diversity will give you much more success long term in reefing and can help you avoid a lot of the problems with newer tanks, also with older tanks. These are problems that we can avoid by following the American Coral Method. Mechanical filtration is next on the list of things that we use to keep our reef tanks running smoothly and looking good. I employ a heavy in, heavy out approach where I feed a lot, whether I'm feeding my fish, broadcast feeding my corals, or target feeding my corals. I also use things like this very well used skimmer. I like to skim wet to take out as much of the uneaten food and debris before it has a chance to become phosphate and nitrate in our tank. Another way of doing that I like to use is things like filter pad, different filter socks. They come in a lot of different sizes. You can wash and reuse these, or you can just throw this away. All of these things take out that uneaten food and allow us to keep our nutrients in the levels that we prefer. The third and final type of filtration would be chemical filtration. Break them up into two main categories. They're going to be things like carbon and things like GFO that will remove phosphates from your aquarium. So there are several different types of carbon. They remove different size particles or different size molecules. But for this purpose, let's just say they remove things you don't want in the water. This can be very useful in keeping clear, clean water in between your water changes. Phosphate removal media, there are several different types. They all do very similar things. They actually bind to the phosphate in your water, and when you get rid of the phosphate media, the phosphate goes with it. This can help us keep ideal levels of phosphate in our tanks and keep them from getting too out of hand, which will cause our corals to grow a lot more slowly, can cause issues like algae and such. So paying attention to chemical filtration, whether it's in a media bag or in a reactor, is very important and can help us have a lot more success. After gaining an understanding of filtration, we move to promoting a very stable and consistent environment in our tanks. We do these things by testing, whether it's testing your salinity with a refractometer and frequently calibrating it with the solution, and using your auto top off to replace evaporated water so that the salinity stays very stable, to testing calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium with our test kits. I prefer the Salifert test kits. I find them very easy to use, very cost effective, and you can know where your parameters are at any one time. Then we talk about nutrients. Nutrients would be nitrate and phosphate. I like to use the Hanna phosphate kit. It gives me an actual readout of what my phosphate is at, and I find that to be a very, very important parameter to keep track of, and we'll cover that a lot more in future videos. As far as nitrate, I like the NIOS test kit. Um, I had a lot of issues reading the Salifert test kit. The differences between the colors were very, very subtle, and I had a hard time picking them out. This one I found to be a whole lot easier. Lets me know more accurately what my nutrients are at. This is going to tell me whether to dose with these things and whether to do a water change or employ things like vodka dosing with my nutrients. All of these are going to help me promote the most stable and consistent environment for my fish and corals, which will pay off very much. The last couple of topics I'm going to cover in the American Coral Method would be lighting and flow. These are very complicated topics, and there are probably a lot of right answers. But with what I like to do, I like to keep things really, really simple. I like the black box lights. There are a lot of different brands, but they suit my needs. They come on at a certain time. Somewhere in the middle of the photo period, I throw in for about 4 hours. I throw in my white channel to get full spectrum, and then they go off at a certain time. I keep things very simple. I don't tinker with it, and it leads to success. Another thing is things like wave makers. This is a very small one, but they come in all different sizes and also price points. You can spend as much or as little on your wave makers as you would like. I think that the quality of even the lower priced options has dramatically increased. All that these are doing is they're creating the random flow environment that you would find in the ocean. So these are going to pulse on and off. They're going to go in just a random pattern. And all of that is going to give us the flow that we need for our corals and our fish to be happy and healthy. We'll go a lot more into lighting and flow in further videos, but suffice it to say, try to keep it simple. Keep it with something that you don't feel you have to mess with. Set it and forget it. That's about it for this introductory video on the American Coral Method. I wanted to, in a very general way, introduce this method and what it entails. I wanted to briefly describe some of the very important features of it, which I will go into in a lot more depth in further videos. I have a lot of different videos planned. With this tank, I have a lot of fun stuff planned. We're going to induce some common problems, and then I'm going to show you how to treat them. I'm going to drag out a microscope. We're going to look at all of the microscopic creatures that are active 24/7 in our tanks and give you a better appreciation for how much activity truly goes into a successful aquarium. You can reach me at americancoral.com. I'm working on getting that site more set up and functional, but if you don't see what you want, you can email me through there or reach me on Facebook at the American Coral Company and message me through there. Thanks. Have a great day.